Motion 2 is a plugin designed by Mount MoGraph that is designed to make keyframing easier, along with additional features to help you with your After Effects workflow. With a price point that's reasonable, it offers incredible value. Let's see a few of the features it has to offer. So you can find Motion 2 by going to mountmograph.com to the Motion section and download or buy this powerful script and find out more information about what it does. So there's quite a lot of features inside of it. I suggest that you take a look and become familiar with some of those features. There's a lovely intro video of about 40 minutes describing this product in a lot of detail. I'm going to close out this Safari browser and I'm hopping into my chapter 5.5 composition where I have the animation that we've used in the last few movies. I'll just play that back. I've added a little bit of rotation to the people layers on the clock. Now let's spice up this animation with Motion 2. The first thing I'm going to do is focus on the clock. So I'll solo that from everything else. And the animation is being driven by the null layer. Keep in mind that all of these layers are parented to the null 2. If I hit U, that's what the position keyframes are. And this is the first animation that I like to ease in a little bit. So I'm going to select the word position and go to my window menu to find the Motion 2 script. You can see there that a new floating window opens up, and I'm just going to dock it to the side here of the composition window over to the right. I'll resize my interface a little bit, and as long as my position keyframes are selected, I can start to play with these sliders here to get various types of easing animation, ease in, ease outs. It's as simple as me just taking one of these sliders. You can see if I drag to the right, that updates. Now this is even more powerful, or we can get a sense for what this is doing. If I open up the graph editor, you can see there the position values being highlighted. Let me actually fit all graphs to view in the value graph. And so I'm going to start to play with these sliders slightly. And I just want to show you what's happening here. I've actually driven this way all the way down to the left, and we have 2 hold keyframes now. So you can see here that it jumps from one keyframe to the other. I'll just start to bring this up. You can see there it starts to add some easing values in the graph. Notice what happens when I start to drag the upward slider. If I drag it all the way to the left, it's completely linear. If I drag it all the way to the right, you can see a much different easing type of graph. So I want to make these values 60, 100, 100. You can see there how it's adjusted the keyframes there on the null object. Great. So I'm going to close out the graph editor and also close out the null object. And let's take a look at one of the people layers. So I'm just going to extend my view here of the timeline, move down to about 2 seconds where they've all finished animating. I'll unsolo the clock layer and now I'll select the family layer and solo that out. So this, if I hit U, has both scale and rotation keyframes on it. And one really exciting thing to me about this is also the excite value. So we can select 1 or 2 keyframes. I'll select the rotation, the last rotation keyframe here on the family. I'm just going to click the excite button. And it's going to add an expression onto the Z rotation to make it more of an exciting, bouncy value. And just to play that back, you can see there that it bounces back and forth. If we take a closer look with this layer still selected, I'm going to go to Effect Controls and see that there's actually 3 controls that have been added where I can customize this overshoot and bounce. I'm going to do just that. I'm going to make the overshoot a little bit greater, about 40, but a little bit less of a bounce to about 10. And I'm going to up the friction so that the bouncing ends earlier to about 80. If I play back, you can see how that animation folds. I'm going to up that bounce value just a little bit more by scrubbing on it and then just playing back so we can see a different result. And we can apply that to any of the keyframes. I'm also going to apply that to the last scale keyframe on the family layer. With it selected, I'll also choose to excite it. And on the family layer, keep in mind that a new set of values for the last scale keyframe have been added that we can control down here. So these first 3 values you can see here is for Z rotation. These second 3 are for the second scale keyframe. And lo and behold, we have a little bit more of an exciting animation there with those 2 items by simply selecting the keyframes, clicking a button, and then controlling these values with sliders. So it can really help with your animations. And let me unsolo the family layer. Just kind of go where we can see our overall animation. Give you guys a chance to select each of these layers and hit U and try this for yourselves. But that is not all to Motion 2. There's quite a bit. So some of my other favorites are being able to warp certain objects using this jump command and also tasks launches. So just to show you something, I'm going to go to my project panel. You can see my project is already organized, but say yours wasn't. There's this lovely task launch button where you can just press sort. And based on some default settings, it organizes your project, as you can see, into Illustrator files, audio compositions, images, nulls and solids, and video, just like that. Pretty cool. So I'm just going to hit Command Z because I don't need that for this project. So take a look at Motion 2. There's way more than what we've covered in this video, but hopefully that gives you a sense for how it can help you with your keyframe animations.